So hi everybody, welcome to the Quantum Frequency Initiative. I'm Vanessa Ina and today I'm interviewing Fiona D Speedie, who is a shaman amongst other things, and we're going to discuss with her what she does, how she does it, and a little bit about her story. If that's right, Fiona, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, and welcome to everyone watching.
Yeah, cool. So we begin with, I just want to start a little bit different than usual before we get into your story.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I just was wondering if you can share with me like what your belief is around elevating frequency, or what it is that you see this whole frequency rising thing that's happening at the moment energetically, how you see it, how you view it, or what's your kind of take on it.
To be honest, I find because I'm focusing so much on the land, going within, looking within ourselves, our ancestors, with spirit, I don't generally feel the collective frequency rising that a lot of other healers talk about. The healings that I do, or the people that I meet, I see everyone still has roughly the same sorts of problems. People still want to heal. People still have things that they're missing soul pieces with. They got past life issues. They got trauma from this life. It doesn't really impact my my belief set and my healings. I love the idea that we all raise in frequency. I believe that's why we reincarnate, and we want to be better, and we want to follow a purpose to help. But the frequency is not something that's particularly relevant for me at the moment.
And I know you do a lot of earth works and a lot of stuff with people in a really organic earth way, and connecting them with their bodies and doing stuff through that as well. So I'm going to ask you then what you do as a shaman, because a lot of people don't know what shamanism is or how it works, or there's a misconception really around the word shaman, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I normally describe what I do as Western shamanism, because as you can see by looking at me, my appearance is on a Westerner, Celtic background. Shamanism, the original word came from some anthropologists who were investigating and researching a group of tribal people in Siberia, and what they called their medicine person, their spirit person, the person they went to help when they were hurt or healing, was they called them, the pronunciation closest was a shaman. And as a result of that paper being published, it became something that Western scientists said anytime there was a medicine person, a healing person, a spirit person within tribes that they couldn't describe, because we don't have an equivalent here in Western society, they called them a shaman. So a shaman can mean anything from dealing with death, past lives, previous lives, passing over, spirit work, ancestor work, plant medicine, physical body, communication between spirit and now guides, all of those things. So there's every basic tribe always had a medicine person and a spirit person to talk to. Sometimes they were the same, sometimes they were different. And there's usually a calling that people feel, and there's often the calling is intensified, or sometimes you'll go on a quest, which is often something that involves something very dangerous. So often shamans come about through life-altering situations and trauma. Sometimes it's near-death experiences. Sometimes the quests, get you to starve and dehydrate yourself for days until you get into that sort of trance-like state to see whether that's your purpose. So it's usually quite traumatic, and yet others can just be born knowing and born into a line. For Western shamanism, we don't have that heritage as much anymore, which is a shame. So it's something that I've discovered only recently in the last 5 years from a beautiful teacher, and soon as I felt it, heard it, it really resonated within me. I've been exposed to lots and lots of modalities, which I love, but none that actually felt like it was mine. And I love the connection to earth, to nature, to animals, to respecting all. We are all equal. the drums, the tools, the primal, really raw nature of it really appeals to me, and it just sits in resonance with me. And I know in my past lives and my heritage, my ancestors, I've been a healer many times over in different modalities, and this is the one that represents me best this lifetime.
Okay, that's awesome. Wow. So there's heaps of things I would ask you in that. What really drew you at first to did you just come across a shaman and then you went, hey, there's something about this that I need to learn?
I went to an opening of a healing centre with 3 beautiful women who'd gotten together to join their services, from Reiki to Lomi Lomi and massage to shamanism. And a really good friend of mine asked me along. She'd been doing the Lomi Lomi, and she said, come along to this opening. So we went along, and we did some beautiful meditations, we did some beautiful things, and one of them was a drum healing by the Shamanic teacher. And I felt this drum, and I just got transported to another place. And I just approached her afterwards and just said, tell me more, what do you do? What's this drum? And she said, she's a shaman. She said, I run tribe nights where we do journeys. And I was like, right, okay, I'm in. And then I went to a tribe night and I did my first journey to lower world to experience some spirit medicine, and I could do it. And it just felt so beautiful and easy and right. And then I found out she did training. And when I first started my training, the 3 days at level 1, I just thought I was going for me. I was just like, I just have to do this. And I thought I was just going to be exploring all about me. And it was halfway through, I'm like, I don't get why they keep talking about healers. I'm just here for me. Well, what's this healing thing? I'm not a healer. Everyone else might be, but I'm not a healer. And then at the end of level 1, it was a really powerful journey that sort of got me to wake up and go, yes, you are. And that was a big confrontation, because it wasn't something, I knew lots of healers, but that wasn't the image I had in myself. And then I went on over the next year and a bit to do level 2 and level 3. And yeah, everything I see about it, everything I experience with it is just incredible, and it's just meant to be. Yeah, not to say that I haven't had my doubts and have to have obstacles and things like that, but yeah.
But it's really been a trusting of your own knowing, isn't it, to have gone along with that journey, because it's not really the background you came from or where you would have thought you would have ended up, right, to be a shamanic healer.
No, not at all. Very much a corporate background, and the one thing I noticed straight away with shamanism, or when I was in that space, was you have to drop the mask. Spirit does not allow you to not be authentic. If you're scared, if you're fearful, if you're feeling vulnerable, if you're feeling joyful, if you're feeling doubt, if you're feeling certainty, it's just there. And especially the doubt, the vulnerability, the fear, the uncertainty, I've never, in my other lives and professions, you don't show that. But those masks don't work with shamanism. And they also make you peel back all of those onion layers that we all love.
Which is how you help people, one of the ways which you help people, right? So can you tell us a little bit? Because I know you said a lot of tribes, they had a spirit walker and often a medicine person or a shaman as well, because in the tribal way, correct me if I'm wrong, you know, that usually the physical realm, the medicinal realm in physical was very much linked to spirit, very much linked to the things that we can't see as well. It wasn't just isolated like we often have in the Western system. So.
Yeah, generally, and I'm not going to claim to be any expert in tribal, I'm not an anthropologist or anything else, but generally from what I've read and seen is that prior to Western civilization and all the technology and everything else, that we were connected to the land. We needed to stay connected to the seasons. The animals staying healthy and producing and staying abundant, and the plant life and the grazing and the bird life and the insect life, all of it meant whether the earth was flourishing or the earth wasn't. If there were issues with the earth and the animals and nature, it impacted us because that's where we got our food from. So there wasn't this concept of being separate. And generally the spirit aspect was, it could be really deep and spiritual, some cultures, and others was along the lines of we respect and we just thank you. We're not any better than you. We have our needs and we also give back. We don't take more than we need. we're grateful for what we get, and we're part of the ecosystem. And that's something that's always resonated with me. And whether I've always had what I would call a spirituality, not a conventional religious upbringing. I've always questioned, and I had parents that questioned. So the idea of doing lives and continuing to go until you judge yourself, and you make choices for yourself each lifetime about what you want to learn and grow and develop, just sat well with me. And then you add in the belief that whether it's your guides, whether it's universal energy, whether there are higher beings, or whether it's yourself and nature helping, I'm an optimist, so I believe that most things out there want you to do well. And they're there if you ask nicely and you respect and you give back. It's a circle. It's a give and take circle.
That's beautiful. And so when you do a shamanic healing, for example, can you run us through a little bit about maybe what that involves for someone who's never done anything like that before?
Sure. So
I know it's probably depends on the person. It's probably, I know it's,
there is a sort of a process that we go through that is my teaching, and every shaman will be different depending on their teaching. But for me, it starts with asking questions. So probably a 30-minute dive into why have you come. Generally, people only come to a shamanic healer. It's not their first port of call. Most people have never heard of it. It's usually people who are struggling to find answers, who know there's something else, there's another way to heal, to let go of the trauma, and they're just struggling. They're just finding themselves going around and around in the same circle. Their mind tells them what they need to do. It's just not sticking. And that's usually what we call the places where we've got soul pieces missing, and so kind of our actions are trying to leak through until we can have our soul pieces replugged back in. But generally when people come, they're usually quite articulate about what the issues are because they've been exploring it and trying to heal it for often years. So we talk about what the origins of the trauma is. What is it that they want to feel or let go of, whether it's physical pain, whether it's emotional pain, whether it's trauma. Usually try and get some keywords, which kind of sets your intention. Usually find some key dates and ages too, and they're for the soul pieces. Investigate find out some of their family background, because we want to often clear their lineage as well. And then they have an option to do a 15-minute hot magnesium spa. I know it's really tough. To try and clear the mind and get themselves out of their mind and relax. And then we head into my healing room, which is a beautiful, lovely bed. It's not a massage table because you don't just take your clothes off, and I don't need to touch you. And a lot of people fall asleep on that bed. It's very comfortable. So you lie there on your back fully closed. I put a lovely blanket on top of you, make sure you're comfortable. You have an eye patch on, give you a couple of crystals to hold, or maybe place on your body. And I normally start with what we call the rattle, which is usually representative of snake energy, which is beautifully healing. And the rattle tends to show what's happening in the auric field, whether there's any sticky points, whether there's any places where the rattle will sort of stop, which there's something stuck there or stagnant or something to pay attention to. And usually do that around the body, which is the same if I do it remotely as well. And then you take note of those points, and then I normally go back in with the help of my panther and my snake, and we can extract or deal with anything that sits, whether it's physical or symbolic of injuries or trauma that have happened around the body, cord cuttings, etc. Then often do an auric cleanse, and then I'm usually I do the generational, so I usually stand behind the head and step back a step for each generation I need to clear on the female and the male side. Clear issues that are related to the intent of what we want to heal throughout those generations, and blow in those soul pieces or replace that unconstructive, unhelpful element with something, and that also clears through for their children if that's going to be happening. And then I usually pick up my drum, and it's time for all the soul pieces to go into their soul rooms at the age of their trauma, and speak. I usually take the child and say, your adult self's asked me to come and help you with this, and let's go and speak to the person that's hurt you, and that's a higher self. So you get to say what you never could say in a beautifully articulate way. You also get to give back something that doesn't belong to you, belongs to this person as a result of that particular situation, and then you take back from them the soul piece that was removed, and I blow that back into the body. And I do that for the key dates and ages that we've identified. And then usually, last but not least, we do a medicine animal, which is something for, again, the purpose of what you want to clear and heal, that you can call on for a specific, it's for a short period of time, and you can call on the qualities and characteristics of that animal to help you move forward with the process. And then usually just sometimes a singing bowl's involved, heart chakras or throat chakras. It can be different crystals, it can be different things to burn and sage.
Use your feathers.
Yeah, the feather, which is beautiful for cutting cords or cutting through things.
And you've got
clearing.
beautiful drums as well.
Got the drums. I've got a couple of drums, in particular a mare drum that have mare hide. That's a Sami drum, made by a guy who does it very authentically. So he researches it all. The rattle. There's a few different tools. The beautiful Florida water spray, which lifts.
And some smoke. Sometimes you smoke things,
Yes,
don't you?
yes. So I use, I've got some lightning struck bark, which I sometimes use, as well as sage or incense.
And I've had some of these amazing experiences with Fiona. So I actually didn't know all of this because I fell asleep. And she did her magic while I was asleep. But we did get the benefit at a healers weekend that Fiona and our lovely friend Shannon here host at this lovely property here at Stanthorpe. And Fiona went through a experience of a journey with Shannon as your guinea pig for us all, did a demonstration for us all, so we got to see some of this in action. It was really amazing to watch. So yeah, it's wonderful that you can do these things and the way that you go about doing it, and it's stuff that a lot of people that don't understand what this is all about were really spun out by how you do what you do and how it all sort of happens. There was a little bit of like sucking and blowing and all sorts of stuff there as well, wasn't there?
So sometimes when you're looking at that auric field or the physical body, there's what we call extraction. So there's things to, it's just stuff you don't want there. I see it as black goo, but there's just stuff you don't want. So you extract it, and then you've got a bowl that
get rid of it.
You get rid of it into, which you need to dispose of afterwards carefully. Yeah.
Well, I can say that after my experience on Fiona's table, it really affected me a lot. It really changed a lot within my direction, my path, because a lot of my soul pieces were brought together and there was a lot of clearing done, and I felt like I needed to do that. And then I've just kind of kept accelerating and progressing in my own spiritual journey ever since then. And I suppose also I should mention that I do come to Fiona's Shamanic tribe nights once a month, where she takes us on an amazing journey. And those have been absolutely essential to my continued growth as well, because it's going in and my own spirit speaking with me in the way that I'm going to understand, that helps me get through a particular thing that's happening, or awakens me to something, or enlightens me or elevates me in some way, and also connects me with aspects of myself that are assisting me spiritually, whether it's my great grandmother or different other beings that I'm connected to that support me. So can you tell us a little bit about the actual shamanic journeys? Because
yes, so the shamanic journey is a really easy but very powerful tool that anyone can do. So the tribe nights, you don't need to have any experience, you can just rock on up. There's nothing you really build on, and the shamans believe there's three levels or three worlds. There's upper world, which is where our spirit or guides sit. Middle world is the past life world, and lower world is the beautiful earth untouched by humans. It also is it's got it's got the fairy kingdom, the elemental kingdom, it's got Atlantis, it's got beautiful, and it's full of animals, and all the animals, sometimes our ancestors too. So it's where we explore. You could see it as a metaphor for whatever the issues are or the troubles you want to have, and you can allow your subconscious to come in with some answers, or if you want to see it as spirit or God or the universe coming in to help you. And the journeys, there's always a theme which spirit gives me, and we explore that theme first together. So we try and set our intentions by talking to each other and helping to dive down a little bit deep. Sometimes we need that other person to help us get through some of those barriers. And we identify an intention, and then the journey, the journey itself, usually simple, although I often say that and you say it's not simple, is the same for everyone, but everyone's experience based on who they are, their guides, their ancestors, how they see and experience things is always so incredibly different. And it's all metaphors, analogies, and the interpretation of that and the experience every time is just something different. And you always get some medicine as well as you come out to help you with that particular issue at the time. Yeah, so it's a great way to explore and to trust yourself, to trust that this is for you, done by you. Yeah.
And the guidance that you give helps too, because I can say that every time we come to these monthly sessions, we're never quite sure what the theme's going to be about. And then we go around the circle, we do a little share, and then it always seems to be that the theme that's being brought to Fiona to guide us on that night is always something that's perfectly relevant for everybody in the circle. And then when we go, we do the discussions, I find that really helps us, because it gets us really clear on our intention, it gets us clear on where we're at within ourselves, that clarity comes in. And then from there, we're able to go into the journey and really get the answers that come to us. So it's really helpful, and we all love it. We put aside, I don't think you realise how much of us we put aside, like, we've got to go this month to this, because things build up over the month. And yes, it's taught us all confidence in ourselves and to be able to access parts of ourselves as well and be able to listen to spirit within. But there's still something that's super powerful about us all coming together and having you guide us in that space, because it's kind of this safety space to be able to really be free to go really explore really deeply. And so stuff that's come up over the month just seems to be the perfect thing to analyse that.
I agree. I do find that as much as, and of course I set protections and I encapsulate in a safe space, but the group dynamic of that support, because everyone supports each other, that group dynamic, even when we did the feminine pain journey, where we had a particular one to go in as sisters all together to clear feminine pain lines. There was a lot of the journeys there that you saw each other, and I saw you and you saw me while I was holding space and drumming with it. And more than drumming, there was a lot of vocalizations in that one.
And that was the most one, actually, just touching on this while you brought it up, that was the most one that really, where we did interconnect and we all did a collaborative kind of healing session, because instead of us all coming together this time, Fee was called, we all had some things that really brought us together in this purpose of freeing the feminine really from social conditioning and generational conditioning, as well as the individual conditioning, how it impacted us and our families. And then Fee suggested this journey, and we were all like, yes, we're totally on board. And so we kind of came together more as a collective sisterhood to kind of assist in that.
Yeah.
And it was amazing how much we either experienced each other within the journeys, or we experienced things that were similar within our journeys, the animals, the support animals, or
the bonfire, and
the bonfire, and us being around the bonfire, or seeing the others on the other side of the fire, or different things that happened, hey. But it was still all our own unique way of clearing that feminine pain and the feminine conditioning, and the feeling of that afterwards, hey, it was, we all felt very touched, very powerful, like we'd done an amazingly powerful work for humanity, really.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't just our own lines we were clearing, it was, and all those generations, but it was pulling in others as well. It was really powerful work.
It was great. And so we intend to do more of these.
Yes, we do.
Collaborative efforts as we come together, including we're going to host a feminine sovereignty, or releasing that sort of conditioning from women and really stepping into your own power. Shannon and Fee and I are going to do a retreat next year to really focus on that specifically.
Yes,
accessing
so watch this space.
Accessing not just being to clear the conditioning within yourself and your own trauma patterns and things, but also the ancestral lines and the lineage, and going into lower world through some journeying maybe, or even doing family constellations that Shan does to help us do that kind of bigger generational aspect, or societal sort of conditioning. So there's lots of beautiful work that we're all doing together in this community of healers that are around here that we've all come together, that I'll be sharing more with you through this podcast series as time goes on. And I'm sure we'll do another interview with Fiona because we're a little bit short of time today, but I'd love to be able to go a little bit more into some stuff with Fee, or maybe see if she'll do, I don't know, maybe we can do a little bit of drumming, give it a little sample or something.
Yeah, sure.
If we can next time.
Absolutely. If you've got any questions, just send them to Ness.
Because I did have a lot of questions, but now I'm sitting thinking about us going on journeys and stuff and how great it's been. But I guess there was more I would like to ask you or delve a little bit further into relative to like how you experience it as the healer, as far as what you see when you say you call in your panther, or when you stuff like that, you know, how your panther comes, how you experience it in yourself. Because I know you've got a certain knowing. You were talking about having a knowing other than a visual, and everybody's different how we all do our healing stuff. So that'd be cool to explore a little bit more.
Bit weird maybe, but
it's all weird. We get together and we do these amazing things, hey, that people probably think are weird. And that's partly why I wanted to do this podcast series, so I could let people understand a little bit more about what it is that healers do that might seem a little bit weird or out there, alternative, and you've wondered, what's that actually about? So is there anything that you could maybe suggest to anyone who's new to shamanism, this is the first time they've come across it, and they're like, whoa, is there anything you could suggest to them to maybe, you know, touch base a little bit more with it in themselves, or to go and look for someone in their area? What would you recommend the most?
If anything that you've heard sort of makes you go, I'd really like to learn a little bit more about that, I mean, Google is a wonderful source, but I would really ask that you feel into it. You go outside. If you can find some nature somewhere, you might not be as lucky as we are with our beautiful backyard here, and just feel into it. Whether you put your hands on a tree, do you feel it? Do you feel like in previous lives you were really connected to nature? Is there, we often talk about starseed people, who are really, Ness is a starseed, very much from the stars and coming down to experience beautiful earth, or earth babies, earth-based, and I'm very much an earth-based. And I'm not saying you have to be earth-based to really feel shamanism at all, but that sense of feeling you are part of the ecosystem, you are part of a whole. If that really resonates with you, and all of these tools that we use, the drums, the feathers, the rattle, are all very primal. Even your voice is very primal. It's not so much about incantations or spells or light language up, although all of that can be part of it as well. But it is very much that earth-based. So if that resonates with you, I would suggest even as simple as getting a deck of cards that are really earth-based and seeing whether some of those messages, there's some beautiful shamanic cards that talk about power songs and journeys. Pay attention to your dreams and what you feel, and have a look up different sites about meanings for different animals and the animals you might be drawn to, and then see some of their characteristics if you can see some relevance with them.
Animals are a big one actually, because they do often, you'll come across animals, hey, that have some kind of and sense into them when an animal comes to you, hey. Does it have a feel? Is it just an animal crossing your path randomly, or is there a meaning to it? Is there some sort of message it's trying to bring you? Yeah,
even notice your own animals. Sometimes we think they're just being normal, or we don't pay attention, and the more you pay attention to them, the more you might notice they put their nose on certain parts. I've got a beautiful cat who's she's just passed away, but she's still here, who would come up and purr on my heart chakra, and it wouldn't just be me. It didn't matter whether anyone liked cats or not. She was determined. If she felt you needed it, and you would suddenly find, even if you don't like cats, she would be in your arms purring on your heart chakra until she was enough, and then go down. So yeah, just paying attention and sitting in that space a little bit more, and then just really feel into it. There's any of these modalities, especially when you go into semi-trance like states, which you can in a journey, you really want to feel good about the person you're doing it with. That's Yeah, that's all I would suggest with that. Same with any of the plant-based medicines, ayahuasca and things like that. You don't do it for curiosity. It's for a very specific purpose. It needs to be ethically sourced. There needs to be permissions there. Really feel into that, because they're not just a shaman or someone who's going to be taking you, whatever they might call themselves, into that space. They're also their own person with their own ethics and everything, and you really need to resonate with that person. So trust yourself in that space, and you do have it within you. The original ones were self-taught, so depending on, trust yourself with that as well.
And we're all in an organic body that comes from the earth, so we're able to connect in with the earth and nature. Yeah, and be, as much tuned into that as possible.
On the next one, maybe I'll have some suggestions for some books. I didn't come prepared for that, but
yes.
Books or sites or anything like that if you're really wanting to.
Or I'll put the link for a contact for you below the video as well, because Fiona can do Zoom sessions with healings and with journey nights too. Don't you do those sometimes?
Yes, if I have enough interest, the journey nights I replicate the next week and do it as a remote dial-in Zoom. So, yes.
Awesome. All right,
Speaking of animals.
Here's our wolf. He's in another video. He's in the last video if you want to see the wolf. There he is. This is Remy. And our little cat we're going to pay homage to, Shadow, would always come into our journeys, and she'd do this little circle around everybody. Like she was checking out the whole scene, wasn't she, always? She'd come and give some of her own medicine. She even come into a journey with me once to assist me with some of her beautiful healing.
And she joined into a women's circle once and even actually literally sat in the circle and put her paw on someone's knee when we were all holding hands to join in.
Yeah, and in the constellations actually. So the animals are a very big part of shamanism, aren't they?
Yeah, they are for me, definitely. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me
That's
today
Thank you
and
for
having
asking.
this brief interview. Really appreciate it.
My
and
pleasure.
thank you for joining us, and we'll interview Fiona another time. If you've got any questions, put them in the comments below, and I'll make sure I ask her those next time.
Yep.
And take care. Elevate your frequency.
Thank you.
Thanks.